Lost internet back now. Oh. Hello. Oh, no one's here. That's okay. You can have a wash. Do you want to go outside? They'll come back. They'll come back, won't they, sweetie? They'll come back. Do you want to go outside again? It's going to be cold out there. Hi. Hi. Sorry, my internet went out. Yes, it's Niobe. And she's happy because she's getting a cuddle. Do you want to go outside? Out there? This is the system we agreed on. Want to go outside? Oh, I love you. Yeah? Oh, that's not where you want to be. Okay. Okay, I'll shut the door and talk to the people for a bit then, eh? Okay, and you have a wash. Oh, you do want to go out. Okay, good girl. We are learning and growing every day. Okay, my internet went out unexpectedly, so you guys are going to have to tell me at what point I kind of lost connection there. I think I got up to Heathcliff was asking questions about Kathy's illness. Really don't like that you can see the little stitching there. Very annoying. Was that where we got up to? If the last video didn't have so much Niobe in it, I would just delete it and start the chapter again. Mrs. Linton is as different now as... Thank you, Danny. She's the only one paying attention. All right, Mrs. Linton is now just recovering, I said. She'll never be like she was, but her life is spared, and if you really have a regard for her, you'll shun crossing her way again. Nay, you'll move out of this country entirely. And that you may not regret it, I'll inform you Catherine Linton is different now from your old friend Catherine Earnshaw, as that young lady is different from me. Her appearance has changed greatly, her character much more so, and the person who is compelled of necessity to be her companion will only sustain his affection hereafter by the remembrance of what she once was, by common humanity, and a sense of duty. Youch. Oh yeah, no, Kathy went mental and she's not as pretty anymore. So her husband is going to look after her by like imagining what she used to be like before she went mental and isn't as pretty. So not a lot to hang around for. Yeah, if you loved her, you'd fuck off forever. And Heathcliff's like, no. When you say love, we feel different things. That is quite possible, remarked Heathcliff, forcing himself to seem calm. Quite possible that your master should have nothing but common humanity and a sense of duty to fall back upon. But do you imagine that I shall leave Catherine to his duty and humanity? And can you compare my feelings respecting Catherine to his? Before you leave this house, I must exact a promise from you that you'll get me an interview with her. Consent or refuse, I will see her. What do you say? I say, Mr. Heathcliff, I replied, you must not. You never shall through my means. Another encounter between you and the master would kill her altogether. She doesn't like being upset. It's killing her. She is literally dying to prove a point. I do have respect for Kathy sometimes. With your aid, that may be avoided, he continued, and should there be a danger of such an event, Should he be the cause of adding a single trouble more to her existence? Why, I think I should be justified in going to extremes. I wish you had sincerity enough to tell me whether Catherine would suffer greatly from his loss. The fear that she would restrains me. And there you see the distinction between our feelings. Had he been in my place, and I in his, though I hated him with a hatred that turned my life to gall, I would never have raised a hand against him. You may look incredulous if you please. I never would have banished him from her society as long as she desired his. The moment her regard ceased, I would have torn his heart out and drunk his blood. But till then, if you don't believe me, you don't know me. Till then, I would have died by inches before I touched a single hair of his head. Oh, Heathcliff, you are responsible for Edward Cullen. And so much more besides. It's so dramatic. It's so extra. Yeah, everyone's so extra. Everyone's so goth. It's just incredible. Yeah, very normal. I mean, you look at Wuthering Heights, and here is the basic, a girl is torn between two guys, and one of them is really mysterious and crazy and controlling and horrible and abusive, and the other one, he's nice, but he's really boring. Emily, what have you done? But she's not writing Heathcliff as a romantic hero. It's just people, yeah, book's got Fight Club syndrome, or Fight Club's got Heathcliff syndrome. I don't know. There are probably like proper English words, English degree words for it, but. And yet, I interrupted, you have no scruples in completely ruining all hopes of her perfect restoration by thrusting yourself into her remembrance now, when she has nearly forgotten you, and involving her in a new tumult of discord and distress. I wish they wouldn't use that word. It's so hard to say. Tumult? Tumult? You suppose she has nearly forgotten me, he said. Oh, Nelly, you know she is not. You know as well as I do that for every thought she spends on Linton, she spends 1,000 on me. At a most miserable period of my life, I had a notion of the kind. It haunted me on my return to the neighbourhood last summer, but only her own assurance could make me admit the horrible idea again. And then Linton would be nothing, nor Hindley, nor all the dreams that ever I dreamt. 2 words would comprehend my future: death and hell. Existence after losing her would be hell. Yet I was a fool to fancy for a moment that she valued Edgar Linton's attachment more than mine. If he loved with all the powers of his puny being, he couldn't love as much in 80 years as I could in a day. And Catherine has a heart as deep as I have. The sea could be as readily contained in that horse trough as her whole affection be monopolized by him. He is scarcely a degree dearer to her than her dog or her horse. It is not in him to be loved like me. How can she love in him what he has not? Yes, exactly. This is all about. You don't get it. Me and Kathy, we have big feelings. Everyone else, not particularly big feelings, definitely not important feelings. But us, they're the most important feelings in all of history. And I would also like to cut Edgar's heart out and drink his blood, because that's how people talk. Catherine and Edgar are as fond of each other as any 2 people can be, cried Isabella with sudden vivacity. No one has a right to talk in that manner, and I won't hear my brother depreciated in silence. It says depreciated. Does it mean deprecated? I don't care. Your brother is wondrous fond of you too, isn't he? Observed Heathcliff scornfully. Meow. He turns you adrift on the world with surprising alacrity. He is not aware of what I suffer, she replied. I didn't tell him that. You have been telling him something. You have written, have you? To say that I was married. I did write. You saw the note. And nothing since? I sent a carrier, Flora. Want to come up and say hi to the people? Want to come up? She might come up if I ignore her. No. My young lady is looking sadly the worse for her change of condition, I remarked. Somebody's love comes short in her case, obviously. Whose, I may guess, but perhaps I shouldn't say. I should guess it was her own, said Heathcliff. She degenerates into a mere slut. I want to take this moment to say the word slut doesn't mean slut at this point. It means like me. No, that's not a good example. Like a person who doesn't take care of their appearance or hygiene and doesn't clean their house, and like a kitchen slut. Just a girl who works in the kitchen and looks all fucked up and never cleans or tidies, and so congratulations everyone with depression, you're a slut. She is tired of trying to please me uncommonly early. You'd hardly credit it, but the very morrow of our wedding she was weeping to go home. However, she'll suit this house so much the better for not being over nice, and I'll take care she does not disgrace me by rambling abroad. Oh, well, that's nice. Slovenly. Yeah, that's the one. Is it slovenly or slovenly? The word oven in there is confusing. Actually, everything's confusing to me today. Let's just keep going. Well, sir, returned I hope you'll consider that Mrs. Heathcliff is accustomed to be looked after and waited on, and that she has been brought up like an only daughter whom everyone was ready to serve. You must let her have a maid to keep things tidy about her, and you must treat her kindly. Whatever be your notion of Mr. Edgar, you cannot doubt that she has a capacity for strong attachments, or she wouldn't have abandoned the elegancies and comforts and friends of her former home to fix contentedly in such a wilderness as this with you. We're coming to a really important part of the book now that not enough people read or pay attention to. She abandoned them under a delusion, he answered, picturing in me a hero of romance and expecting unlimited indulgences from my chivalrous devotion. I can hardly regard her in the light of a rational creature. So obstinately has she persisted in forming a fabulous notion of my character and acting on the false impressions she cherished. But at the last, I think she begins to know me. I don't perceive the silly smiles and grimaces that provoked me at first, and the senseless incapability of discerning that I was in earnest when I gave her my opinion of her infatuation and herself. It was a marvelous effort of perspicacity to discover that I did not love her. I believed at one time no lessons could teach her that. And yet it is poorly learned. For this morning she announced, as a piece of appalling intelligence, that I had actually succeeded in making her hate me. A positive labor of Hercules, I assure you. If it be achieved, I have cause to return thanks. Can I trust your assertion, Isabella? Are you sure you hate me? If I let you alone for half a day, won't you come sighing and wheedling to me again? I dare say she would rather I had seemed all tenderness before you. It wounds her vanity to have the truth exposed. But I don't care who knows that the passion was wholly on one side, and I never told her a lie about it. She cannot accuse me of showing one bit of deceitful softness. The first thing she saw me do on coming out of the Grange was to hang up her little dog. Don't worry, this is the dog from the previous chapter, which was just found tied to the fence. It was not found hanging. And when she pleaded for it, the first words I uttered were a wish that I had the hanging of every being belonging to her, except one. Possibly she took that exception for herself. But no brutality disgusted her. I suppose she has an innate admiration of it, if only her precious person was secure from injury. Tell me this little speech doesn't say everything about fucking Twilight, fucking 50 Shades of fucking whatever it is, the color of the shades. This is a response to an opinion that hasn't been formed yet when Emily's writing. She knew some people would be dumb sluts, and I'm just meaning a slovenly person, and would fall in love with Heathcliff despite all the horrible things that he does. Now, was it not the depth of absurdity, of genuine idiocy for that pitiful, slavish, mean-minded brat to dream that I could love her? Tell your master, Nellie, that I never in all my life met with such an abject thing as she is. She even disgraces the name of Linton, and I've sometimes relented from pure lack of invention in my experiments on what she could endure, and still creep shamefully cringing back. But tell him also to set his fraternal and magisterial heart at ease, that I keep strictly within the limits of the law. I have avoided up to this point giving her the slightest right to claim a separation, and what's more, should thank nobody for dividing us. If she desired to go, she might. The nuisance of her presence outweighs the gratification to be derived from tormenting her. Yeah. Yup. So Heathcliff has basically just said, guess what, future people? I'm not a good guy. What made you think I was? Was it the time I said that, I'm just a kid now, but I keep thinking of ways to destroy Hindley and I'm definitely going to do it? And no, it can't wait until he dies and goes to hell because God won't enjoy it as much as I will? That give you a clue? No? Maybe? Mr. Heathcliff, said I, this is the talk of a madman. Your wife most likely is convinced you are mad, and for that reason she has borne with you hitherto. But now that you say she may go, she'll doubtless avail herself of the permission. You are not so bewitched, ma'am, are you, as to remain with him of your own accord? Codependent, but in a different way, I guess. Take care, Ellen, answered Isabella, her eyes sparkling irefully. There was no misdoubting by their expression the full success of her partner's endeavours to make himself detested. Don't put faith in a single word he speaks. He's a lying fiend. A monster and not a human being. I've been told I might leave him before, and I've made the attempt, but I dare not repeat it. Only, Ellen, promise you'll not mention a syllable of his infamous conversation to my brother or Catherine. Whatever he may pretend, he wishes to provoke Edgar to desperation. He says he has married me on purpose to obtain power over him, and he shan't obtain it. I'll die first. I just hope, I pray, that he may forget his diabolical prudence and kill me. The single pleasure I can imagine is to die or see him dead. Aw, they're already acting like an old married couple. Oh yeah, we're all monsters and not human, but Heathcliff's a kind of gross monster. There, that will do for the present, said Heathcliff. If you are called upon in a court of law, you'll remember her language, Nellie. And take a good look at that countenance. She's near the point which would suit me. No, you're not fit to be your own guardian, Isabella, now. And I, being your legal protector, must retain you in my custody, however distasteful the obligation may be. Go upstairs. I have something to say to Ellen Dean in private. That's not the way. Upstairs, I tell you. Why, this is the road upstairs, child. He seized and thrust her from the room and returned muttering, I have no pity. I have no pity. The more the worms ride, the more I yearn to crush out their entrails. It is a moral teething, and I grind with greater energy in proportion to the increase of pain. What a great boyfriend he'd be. Do you understand what the word pity means? I said. hastening to resume my bonnet. "Did you ever feel a touch of it in your life?" "Put that down," he interrupted, perceiving my intention to depart. "You are not going yet. Come here now, Nellie. I must either persuade or compel you to aid me in fulfilling my determination to see Catherine, and that without delay. I swear that I meditate no harm. I don't desire to cause any disturbance, or to exasperate or insult Mr. Linton. I only wish to hear from herself how she is, and why she has been ill, and to ask if anything that I could do would be of use to her. Last night I was in the Grange Gardens 6 hours, and I'll return there tonight. And every night I'll haunt the place, and every day, till I find an opportunity of entering. If Edgar Linton meets me, I shall not hesitate to knock him down, and give him enough to ensure his quiescence while I stay. If his servants oppose me, I shall threaten them off with these pistols. But wouldn't it be better to prevent my coming in contact with them, or their master? And you could do it so easily. I'd warn you when I came, and then you might let me in unobserved as soon as she was alone, and watch till I departed, your conscience quite calm. You would be hindering mischief." Yeah, it's always very romantic when he just stands outside your house for hours. Edward Cullen is like Heathcliff, but he's depressed and has no focus and doesn't know that he sucks. I protested against playing the treacherous part in my employer's house, and besides, I urged the cruelty and selfishness of his destroying Mrs. Linton's tranquillity for his satisfaction. "The commonest occurrence startles her painfully," I said. "She's all nerves, and she couldn't bear the surprise, I'm positive. Don't persist, sir, or else I shall be obliged to inform my master of your designs, and he'll take measures to secure his house and its inmates from any such unwarrantable intrusions." "In that case, I'll take measures to secure you, woman," exclaimed Heathcliff. "You shall not leave Wuthering Heights till tomorrow morning." It is a foolish story to assert that Catherine could not bear to see me, and as to surprising her, I don't desire it. You must prepare her. Ask her if I may come. You say she never mentions my name, and that I am never mentioned to her. To whom should she mention me if I am a forbidden topic in the house? She thinks you are all spies for her husband. Oh, I've no doubt she's in hell among you. I guess by her silence as much as anything what she feels. You say she is often restless and anxious looking. Is that a proof of tranquillity? You talk of her mind being unsettled. How the devil could it be otherwise in her frightful isolation? And that insipid, paltry creature attending her from duty and humanity, from pity and charity. He might as well plant an oak in a flower pot and expect it to thrive, as imagine he can restore her to vigour in the soil of his shallow cares. Let us settle it at once. Will you stay here, and am I to fight my way to Catherine over Linton and his footman? Or will you be my friend, as you have been hitherto, and do what I request? Decide, because there is no reason for my lingering another minute if you persist in your stubborn ill nature." Well, Mr. Lockwood, I argued and complained and flatly refused him 50 times, but in the long run he forced me to an agreement. I engaged to carry a letter from him to my mistress, and should she consent, I promised to let him have intelligence of Linton's next absence from home, when he might come, and get in as he was able. I wouldn't be there, and my fellow servants would be equally out of the way. Was it right or wrong? I fear it was wrong, though expedient. I thought I prevented another explosion by my compliance, and I thought, too, it might create a favourable crisis in Catherine's mental illness. And then I remembered Mr. Edgar's stern rebuke of my carrying tales, and I tried to smooth away all disquietude on the subject by affirming with frequent iteration that betrayal of trust, if it merited so harsh an appellation, should be the last. Notwithstanding, my journey homeward was sadder than my journey thither, and many misgivings I had, ere I could prevail on myself to put the missive into Mrs. Linton's hand. But here is Kenneth. I'll go down and tell him how much better you are. My history is dree, as we say, and will serve to while away another morning. And now we're back to Lockwood. Dree and dreary, I reflected, as the good woman descended to receive the doctor, and not exactly of the kind which I should have chosen to amuse me. But never mind. I'll extract wholesome medicines from Mrs. Dean's bitter herbs. And firstly, let me beware of the fascination that lurks in Catherine Heathcliff's brilliant eyes. I should be in a curious taking if I surrendered my heart to that young person, and the daughter turned out a second edition of the mother. The end of the chapter. Oh, Mr. Lockwood, if you surrendered your heart to Cathy, she wouldn't care. No one at Wuthering Heights found you particularly interesting. Nellie's kind of enjoying telling you her story, but not that much. She's happy to do it in installments. And it keeps you quiet, you know? He's got such a good opinion of himself. But yes, thank you all very much for being here today. And I will be here tomorrow, but Wuthering Heights, if you need to find the bit where Heathcliff basically says, why the fuck do girls like me? I'm a monster and don't even pretend otherwise. It is in chapter 14. And I think somewhere in here we've got a picture of Cathy. No. Got a picture of Cathy and the feathers and the duvet. Oh, yeah, there it is. There it is. We saw its nest in the winter full of little skeletons, is the caption. Can you see it? Such a mood. Yes, that'll be a good monologue. Like, yeah, I do not know why girls like me. I told her from the outset. And, you know, she just keeps crawling back to me, thinking that I'll turn out to be a nice guy deep down. I'm not going to. So yeah, thank you all for being here, and I will see you tomorrow, which will be 10 days till Ketmas. Please, please don't let it fall through. Touch wood. Okay, be safe. Wash your hands. I'm a doctor. I'm an angel.